On today's episode, I want to talk about Denver possibly trading up in the NFL draft. You see, 2 weeks ago, we did a video about the Broncos trading down, trading back. But I want to do the opposite today because history says this is far more likely than the Denver Broncos moving back from pick number 20. Fun fact, Sean Payton, when he was in New Orleans as the head coach, never traded back in the first round of the NFL draft. He was just a 1D fan. He only went one direction. He never thought about moving backwards. And George Payton, when he was kind of running the show by himself before Sean Payton got here, we saw how aggressive he was in the draft, right? Moving up and getting Quinn Miners, right? And making some moves in day 2 and day 3 of the draft. So combine the two Paytons, they love to wheel and deal. So I don't think it's that big of a stretch for Denver to possibly move up in this year's draft. Let's just stick with me for a moment because I know this is a little bit ambitious, but check out history with me because you know I love history. And if we go down memory lane with Sean Payton, he has been no stranger to moving up. In 2018, he jumped from 27 to 14 to get Marcus Davenport. He jumped 13 spots. That's a huge shift right there. The year before that, he jumped back into round 1 and gave up Brandon Cooks in the process to select Ryan Ramczyk, who would just be an all-pro tackle for them. A few years before that, with the Cardinals, went from 27 to 20 to get Brandon Cooks, ironically enough, who they ended up trading away to New England. Moving on here, what about in 2011 with the Patriots? Going from 56 back into round 1 to get Mark Ingram. This was the draft where they got Cam Jordan, and reports were they were torn on Jordan or Ingram, and they had that taco commercial, I think it's El Paso Shells. Like, why not both? Why don't we get both players? So they gave up a future first and their second rounder for Mark Ingram. I'd say they won this running back trade right there. So if you're ever like, hey, I'd rather stay put and get a running back later and have more picks, would you rather have Mark Ingram for this 10-year career or Shane Vereen? In 2008, towards the beginning of his time in the Big Easy, he went from 10 to 7. He made a lot of deals with the Patriots, by the way, to get Cedric Ellis, and New England got Gerard Mayo and a third-round draft pick. So there is a long history of Sean Payton moving up in the NFL draft. And I don't think it is that preposterous to think he could do it again this year, especially when you take into account that the general consensus for the 2025 NFL draft is it is light on first-round grades. What does that mean? 32 guys are going to go in round 1. Does not mean 32 players are looked at as, hey, that's a first-round grade. That's a first-round type of player. No, it means, well, we had to pick someone, so this guy's going to be looked at as a first-round quality player, but we have a second-round grade on him. This year's class, usually, I'll back up a minute here, there's about 20 first-round grades, which is why you see way more trades happen from 21 to 32 than 1 to 19. Because 1 to 19, they kind of want to stay put and get someone who's really a first-round player. Then you see 21 to 32 go, man, these are all second-round grades. If someone wants to give us a good offer, we'll happily bow out of this round, get an extra second-round pick, and sure, it might look like we didn't get a first-round player, but really, we get 2 second-rounders instead of just 1 second-round player. Do you follow? This year's draft, it's more like 15 first-round grades. So if you want a quality kind of blue-chip player for the future, 20 likely requires a move up. And Sean Payton has always been one thing when it comes to his offseason and draft persona. Aggressive. Is he someone just to sit back on his hands and go, I hope we get the guy? No. If he wants his man, he's going to get him. I mean, he took a bit of a victory lap after selecting Bo Nix, saying, no one here, first off, he talked about having to put on this charade to throw everyone off, but also he was not afraid to shy away with, that's our guy, and we were not going to mess around, and we believe in him, and we took him in round 1 when people like myself said, hey, that's more of a round 2 quarterback. So kudos to Payton. He stood by his guns, and I could see him doing that again this year. So before we look at what a trade-up could look like and for who, wink, wink, Ashton Jeanty, would you be interested? Right now, let me get your thoughts on this, and you can Revisit it by the end of the episode and see if your mind changes or if I change your mind. For me, it's a Y for yes. I am interested in trading up if I am the Broncos because there is a certain player that I think is worth the trade. And when we look at the NFL draft order, you're not going from 20 to the top 5 in my eyes. That's just too big of a jump. It would require multiple future first-round draft picks. You're likely not making a deal with the Raiders. It's not impossible. Interdivision trades in the draft have happened, just not likely. The Jets at 7, I could see that, but I want to zero in on more of that 8 to 10 range, where at 8 you had the Carolina Panthers, at 9 you have the New Orleans Saints, and at 10 you have the Chicago Bears. So let's kind of focus in on those 3 teams because I think that might be the sweet spot for trading up to get the guy that you really want to give up future picks for and have it be worth it. Because, sure, trading from 20 to 15 might seem manageable and easier to do, but is the guy you want going to be there at 15? He could be long gone by then. So the player that I'm hinting at and not doing a very good job of hiding is Ashton Jeanty. Now, a lot of mock drafts have had Jeanty going to the Raiders. However, there's been some buzz recently that Michigan cornerback Will Johnson could be the play for Vegas at pick number 6. So if Jeanty were to slip past the Raiders, which if you're Las Vegas, you got to ask yourself, who, by the way, if you don't have bad in Denver when it came to rushing the ball, it was worse in Vegas the last 2 years. So I understand the reasoning behind Jeanty. But you got to ask yourself, hey, what's better for this team? A round 1 offensive lineman and then a round 2 running back, or the reverse? You can get Jeanty, but if he has no line, he's not going anywhere. It might be in their best interest, not, like jersey sales interest, but in the team's best interest to reinforce that offensive line and then go get one of the best running backs available in round 2 of the draft. So I could see Jeanty slipping past Vegas. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but if he were to, that is when Sean Payton picks up the phone. And we'll look at what a trade-up could look like for the Boise State running back. First things first, I do have to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is making getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So if you want to go to a Rockies game, a Nuggets game, or an Avs game, check out Game Time because they have so many cool features like Game Time Picks, which makes last-minute tickets buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. I put all that information for you all in the comments and description of today's video. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So here's my idea. Let's say Jeanty gets past Vegas at 6. The Jets have Breece Hall. They might just play it safe and take an offensive lineman, which they really need help at, or Tyler Warren. But at 8, I could see the Carolina Panthers not being desperate to trade the pick, but being very receptive. They gave up a lot to get Bryce Young, and they could see this as an opportunity to try and make up some of the lost draft capital to Chicago by moving back from pick number 8. So what about 20 up to 8, and the Panthers get a future first rounder? It probably requires a little bit more than just one future first. It might be a first and like a fourth. Could be a first and next year's third. But this is the framework of it. And I know it's steep, and I know it's a lot, but let me just kind of ask you this question. Would you rather have Ashton Jeanty or, just going to work on the fly here, let's just look at 2 Broncos draft picks at 20-ish. Like, would you rather have Jeanty or Noah Fant and Paxton Lynch? They were the 20th and 26th overall pick. That first next year could be pick 26 if Denver wins a playoff game or in that neighborhood. So, Jeanty or Fant and Paxton Lynch. I know that first-round picks are looked at as guarantees. They're not. It's a lottery ticket. It gives you better odds than round 7, but it's still a bit of a crapshoot. And Jeanty, to me, is as clear and pure as they come for a prospect. I mean, he's 5'9", 215 pounds, so a little bit on the smaller-ish end. But if you've seen him play just one game, you know he plays like the size of Derrick Henry. I mean, that's the thing that jumps out to me the most. Look at Jeanty's rushing numbers from last year. 2,600 yards, averaging 7 yards a pop, 29 touchdowns. Okay? Receiving-wise, he didn't offer a ton, but why would they throw him the ball when they could just hand it off to him and get 7 yards a carry? So I think there's more to that part of his game than what the surface shows. But I don't think it's just the stats. Like, I don't think it's just, oh, he got all those numbers. No, I think it's what he's able to do when he gets to contact. And that is what I believe is going to make him such a special running back in the NFL. Because sure, in the Mountain West, may not be playing against the greatest defenses. Not a big knock against them, but people will have that knock against Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty led the country in rushing last year. He was first. You want to know who was second? It was Ashton Jeanty after contact. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a generational type running back who is better when the defender meets him in the hole for the first time, and he still puts together 1,900 yards, number 1 in the country in 2024, by a mile, and on average, more than any other running back as well by the carries. In fact, you want to see how this stacks up against running backs taken in the first round over the last half decade or so? Bijan Robinson had a really good year for Atlanta last season. He had 1,000 yards his last season for the Longhorns after contact. Jeanty had 900 more. Look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Look at Najee Harris. Etienne. I put Javonte Williams up there for reference. Remember, he was a bruising back as well coming out of UNC. Jeanty, you know when you see those graphs, and it's sports graphs, and you, at least I'm the big idiot, and you're like, I don't know what the X and the Y axis really mean here. One of them always has efficiency, and like, I guess we got to take their word for it. All you know is you want to be in the top right-hand corner. Jeanty is not in the top right-hand corner. Jeanty's on a different graph in a different galaxy. That's how far and away he is from every other back, not just in this draft class, but a whole bunch of previous draft classes when it comes to some of the more advanced analytics. So yeah, if Carolina said, you know what, after missing out on a lot of draft picks and good ones the last few years because of the Bryce Young deal, we'll take an extra first for next season, and you can have pick number 8. It's a no-brainer. Seriously. If all goes well with Jeanty, you're picking later than 20 next year anyway. So would you rather have the 8th pick or the 20th and say the 25th? Give me 8 every day over 20 and 25. No question in my mind. So if you were on the fence 5 minutes ago when we started this portion of the show, hopefully you're on my side of the fence right now. Let me know. To revisit it, would you give up 2 first-round draft picks for pick number 8? I type A for accept, and I don't think twice about it. There's no hesitation. I'd be like what I would think I would be like in Deal or No Deal, how quickly I would go, no deal, every time the banker calls. That's how all over this idea I am. So, Ashton Jeanty, I hope you stay a Bronco from Boise State down to Denver. That will do it for us on today's episode. Ooh, let's do name a random Mountain West school. How about that? Name a random Mountain West school. I've got mine in mind. Counting down in 3, 2, 1. San Jose State. Very low-key Mountain West school. That's going to do it for this time. I will see everyone later.